It's like people talking about hydroxychloroquine doing something for people, helping cure COVID or whatever. It didn't help cure COVID. There was no evidence that it cured COVID or did anything for anybody. But even if we had discovered that, in fact, it was helpful in curing COVID, it doesn't matter. At the time when they were saying this, there was no evidence. I don't care if they had proven without a shadow of a doubt eventually that hydroxychloroquine was actually helpful. You didn't have the evidence to think that it was. You were just screaming into the void and crying because you were being censored. This is a TV show called Flashpoint. If you're unfamiliar, it's owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland on the Victory Network. It's like a TV network, kind of like TBS or Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or something. Anyway, these people are the hardcorest of hardcore televangelists and Trump lovers. If you haven't seen the others, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. In the last one, we talked about how close to Nazi Germany their talking points were. I'm dead serious. I don't say that lightly. It's deeply disturbing how close they are. In this one, apparently they're going to be talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, I think. Oh, God, these people are just ridiculous. Anyway, let's give it a listen and see what they have to say for themselves, shall we? While we listen, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild.
Okay, let me show you this about Hunter Biden from townhall.com. Reporter, can you address whether the president was involved in any of his son Hunter or his brother's foreign business dealings? So look, there's a little bit of interesting, watch.
Can you address whether the president was involved in any of his son Hunter or his brother's foreign business dealings?
Again, a lot of the stuff that this Flashpoint TV show shows us is completely fabricated. Some of it is made up entirely, like not even real. They usually start with a grain of truth and build it up from there. They don't typically straight up make things up entirely, whole cloth. But I would not put it past them at all. So be very skeptical of absolutely anything you hear on this TV show.
Look, there's a little bit of interesting, kind of on-brand thinking here because, congressional Republicans ran saying that they were going to fight inflation. They said they were going to make that a priority. They were very clear about that these past several months. And instead, what they're doing is they're focusing, they're making their top priority. They get the majority, and their top priority is actually not focusing on the American families, but focusing on the president's family.
What?
Okay, interesting. I don't know if this is real or not, but assuming that this is real, the answer that she gave basically means, why are you focusing on Hunter Biden when you just screamed about gas prices and inflation for 6 months straight, honestly, for 2 years straight? What does Hunter Biden have to do with anything? Why are you focused on it? Why do you give a shit? This is supposed to be about the American families, right? Why are you focused on the president's family when he's not even involved in the administration? What does he have to do with anything at all? That's what she was trying to communicate, if that was not dishonestly clipped, which it wouldn't surprise me if it was dishonestly clipped. Assuming that was the full context, that's what she meant.
What? I mean, I'm sorry. Number one, I have no idea what she just said because it made, kind of so, and so therefore, anyway, make a whole lot of sense. But listen.
This coming from a Trump supporter. Love it. Love it to death.
This is the attack of the liberal left. They're going to come at you. Say, you were talking about this. If you notice, their whole response is...
This wasn't an attack. This was a defense. Does he not understand the difference? I don't understand. She was asked about something about Hunter Biden. The response was, why are you focused on Hunter Biden when the world is suffering? And we need, and you complain about inflation for 2 years straight and gas prices. And now they're like, oh, she's going on an attack. What?
Ben, get Trump, get Trump, get Trump. These are things that need to be handled. I know you agree with me. We've got to handle these things, get to the bottom of it. I don't know what Corinne Jean-Pierre was saying.
Is he making fun of her for having a snazzy name? Why is he making fun of her snazzy name?
But this is ridiculous. Look at even CBS News finally came to mainstream media with a Hunter Biden laptop. Watch.
And as Republicans take control of the House, Hunter Biden, the president's son, will be a target for investigations. And that means data from a laptop reported to belong to Biden could be crucial to the investigatory process. CBS News has obtained its data not through a third party or political operative, but directly from the source who told us they provided it to the FBI under subpoena.
Okay, let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Let me tell you guys my opinion on it. In my opinion, the laptop doesn't exist. Never did. That's my strong suspicion. Let me tell you why. Supposedly, first of all, the story of where it came from is deeply, deeply flimsy. Hunter Biden brought it into a computer repair shop of a blind computer repairman. And this blind computer repairman, instead of returning it to a client who never picked it up, discovers that it belongs to the president's son, or even the vice president's son at the time, I suppose. It could have been the vice president's son at the time. I don't know. Who in their right mind would just decide not to turn or to pick up a laptop that had like incriminating photos and evidence and all of that stuff on it? In my opinion, I believe that the laptop never existed. I think that Russia hacked some of Hunter Biden's accounts and decided to slowly leak some of the photos and whatever else they found through their various QAnon cutouts that they have. Like pictures of his passport. They leaked that. And they used that as evidence that he had a laptop that they're in possession of or whatever. In my opinion, there was never a laptop. I just don't believe there was. If there was, you cannot tell me. Supposedly the laptop was given to Rudy Giuliani. If there was a laptop, you cannot convince me that Trump wouldn't have gotten his grubby little fingers on it and leaked everything himself personally, because it would have gotten him extra news attention. People have offered hundreds of thousands of dollars for just a copy of the data on the laptop. Supposedly it's 450 gigs of data. People have offered $200,000, a standing offer for that data on that laptop for $200,000. And weirdly, nobody seems to be able to turn that up. Nobody can turn that laptop over, that data over. I don't believe it exists. I think Russia keeps leaking stuff from the various accounts of his that they hacked. That's what I think. One common complaint about this laptop, or the laptop story that conservatives have, is social media censored it, and they shouldn't censor a major news story like that. They completely shut this news story off. No, they didn't. Were you on social media the same time I was? That was all anybody was talking about. The New York Post posted an article that contained hacked materials, that they claimed contained hacked materials. That was against Twitter's terms of service, and that one specific post was removed. New York Post was still perfectly free to post on Twitter. They were still perfectly free to talk about the laptop or whatever. Everybody was allowed to talk about the laptop. There were no rules preventing them from doing so. That was the main complaint. So, yeah, this whole story is completely obnoxious and ridiculous and nonsense. I'm sorry. I cannot continue to amuse people with this. It's ridiculous.
And we commissioned an independent forensic review to determine its authenticity. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Harris joins us now with what we found. Catherine, I'm very interested. Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. These House Republican investigations are coming, and that could be a challenge for the White House as we head into 2023 and 2020.
Again, I don't know why they are choosing to investigate Hunter Biden's laptop of all things. Not like there's anything like illegal that's been released. I mean, the dude is a drug addict, we discovered, and yeah, we knew that before he wrote a book about being a drug addict. There's nothing new to be learned there. What investigations are they doing, and what's this going to accomplish, and why are they using my tax dollars to do it? Who gives a shit, honestly?
24, the laptop data we had analyzed showed no evidence it was faked or tampered with.
How?
Digital forensic investigator Mark Lanterman was previously a member of a Secret Service electronic crimes task force.
There was one thing that got my attention, and that was a voicemail.
It's Dad. I called to tell you I love you. I love you more than the whole world, pal. Gotta get some help.
That voicemail, apparently from Joe Biden during his son Hunter's drug addiction, is one of many findings Lanterman used to authenticate what is believed to be Hunter Biden's laptop data.
Joe Biden called his son and said he loves him more than anybody in the world and he needs help. That is really nice, honestly. I didn't have parents that did that shit. Hunter Biden is pretty lucky to have Joe Biden as a father. Do they think that this is like a huge like hit against the left or whatever? This is not the massive win against the left that they seem to think it is.
You're confident, based on your analysis, this is Hunter Biden's data and that it's real?
Yes.
This Delaware computer shop is where the laptop's backstory begins. Their records indicate in April 2019, Hunter Biden took his laptop in for repair, but never paid. After 90 days, the store considered it abandoned. Then in December 2019, the FBI subpoenaed the store's owner to turn over the computer and a portable drive.
Okay, I don't know about this. This specific thing they're saying here doesn't sound accurate to me. And again, I don't trust a single word that comes off of Flashpoint. I would not put it past them to fabricate things whole cloth. I don't know. But from my understanding, the blind computer repair guy called the FBI, made a copy of the hard drive, called the FBI, gave them the laptop, supposedly, and then gave Rudy Giuliani a copy of the, gave him a copy of the hard drive after making a copy of it. So, yeah, I don't know. The whole thing just seems very, very flimsy to me, honestly. Just all of it. I don't believe it until I see physical evidence anymore. It's too far-fetched. I need to see real evidence the laptop existed in the first place, or I'm just not going to believe it.
Of its data.
Whatever happened to Hunter?
During the 2020 election, versions were widely shared by Republican operatives, including Rudy Giuliani.
We have the entire hard drive.
But questions were raised about whether additional files were added to those versions. Then candidate Biden labeled the laptop controversy disinformation.
What he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
A Russian plan, Lance.
A Russian plant. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, I'm pretty confident that that's the case. That Russia was just trying to spread disinformation about, the laptop and all that stuff. It follows the pattern, according to Facebook and the FBI and everybody else, follows the pattern of Russian disinformation.
I'm telling you, CBS News.
By the by, there's a difference between disinformation and misinformation. Disinformation is a very specific, intentional attempt to mislead somebody with false information. Oh my God, I keep hitting the wrong buttons here. Misinformation is basically spreading that disinformation unwittingly or by mistake or not being fully informed. I believe that this is a disinformation campaign, in my opinion.
Way to go. 2.5 years later, they finally authenticate that. Are you saying that's Hunter Biden's laptop?
Hold on. They didn't authenticate that it was Hunter Biden's laptop. They authenticated that the photos and screenshots that they got their hands on were not tampered with. That's very different from claiming it is Hunter Biden's laptop that they are in possession of. and that they are getting this data from Hunter Biden's laptop. It seems like a small distinction, but it's extremely important.
What do you think, Lance?
The funniest thing is I had missed the White House question there, but this is hilarious. So let me decode what she says. She's saying, what? The laptop? You mean Biden being criminally implicated with doing business with China?
Biden was not criminally implicated in anything. What's he talking about? Biden's hands are completely clean in this situation. The only thing that they refer to in, these screenshots or phone calls or whatever that supposedly came from the laptop is he cares about his son. That's all we learned from it. That's it. What was he criminally implicated in?
Hey, those Republicans need to focus on the economy. That's what they should look at. I mean, we got a big problem with the economy. Focus on that over there. Don't be talking about, stay on brand. Your brand message is economics. Don't go to Biden. It's like the most pathetic defense I've ever heard. It's like saying, why do you want to talk about that? Talk about something else. The truth is...
Yeah, pretty much. Like this is one of the reasons why they got as many votes as they did in the first place in the recent election, because they screamed about inflation and gas prices for 2 years straight. What does Hunter Biden have to do with solving the problems that the American people are facing right now? Why does anybody give a shit? What does he have to do with anything?
The FBI, nobody wants to talk about this. The FBI has had this since like 2018. They know exactly what's on it.
Okay, no. They said that they dropped the laptop off at the repair shop in 2019. So I honestly have no idea what he's even talking about right now.
They let the president of the United States go through an impeachment hearing while they had the laptop with all the data of Biden. In other words, Trump is getting impeached because he's saying, I think we ought to investigate if there's been some business dealings that could compromise the president.
Okay, that's not why Trump was impeached. He was impeached for corruptly trying to force Zelensky from Ukraine to investigate Biden. And he wasn't going to release American aid that had already been promised until he investigated Biden or turned over information that would be useful to Donald Trump in a campaign against his political enemy. He was using his position as a government official to benefit himself and to propel himself forward in his election. That is, I don't know if it's illegal or not. I have no idea, but it's deeply corrupt and wrong. And anybody who does that should be barred from ever being in government again. That's what the second impeachment was over. That's what the first impeachment was over, yeah. The second one was over January 6th and was 100% totally justified. Both of them were.
Or Biden as a potential candidate. And the FBI sat on it. This is going to expose so much. And it's what's funny is when you start watching CBS, these guys that have been suppressing the story for 2 to 3 years now going, well, we're breaking news here.
Nobody is suppressing the story. At no point has anybody suppressed the story. They deleted the New York Post Twitter post specifically because it contained a link to hacked materials. That is against their rules. You're not allowed to do that. They have deleted Antifa posts that contained hacked materials also of police officers' names and stuff. That was just a Twitter rule at the time, and it was done fairly and across the board. It was not a censored story. What kind of a fantasy land do they live in?
Really discovering. We've got a forensic. By the way, that forensic specialist, let me give you a little inside baseball. They have hours of transcript voicemail from dad about deals, and they picked the one part they could play on the news that makes.
They don't have hours of transcripts or of phone calls or whatever from Joe Biden about corrupt deals where he's benefiting and blah, blah, blah. That's completely made up. They don't have that stuff. Most of what they found was Biden calling Hunter saying, I hope you get help. You really need help. Let me know if I can do anything for you and stuff like that.
Makes him a sympathetic father figure dealing with a son with an addiction. This is a dad dealing with a son. That's the soundbite that is the least damaging. Wait till you hear the rest of it. Natalie Winters is breaking this story right now. Go check her out. Natalie Winters, she's done a forensic on this for 3 years. She's heard the transcripts. And oh boy, it's going to be an eye-popping experience when this comes out.
Do you feel like, Lance, do you think the mainstream media, I mean, I guess we should be applauding the fact that CBS finally admitted there is a laptop that wasn't for.
Dude, people have been talking about the laptop for like ever. I don't think they ever admitted that there was a laptop. They were just telling the story that was told originally. And they said they could verify that the materials that they received were not fabricated by somebody. Like the screenshots were real screenshots and stuff like that. Or the ones that they got their hands on at the very least. Doesn't mean there is actually a laptop. I personally don't believe there is one. Doesn't mean that everything that's released is from the laptop or is real or any of that other stuff. It means that specific subset of information they got their hands on was real.
From Russia. So do you believe that are they smelling blood in the water, or is it just the inevitable is now finally here and they're going to have to talk about it?
This is what like the New York Times does, is once the facts are out, then they write a breaking news discovery piece that...
No fucking way. Really? Once the facts are out, then they admit that the story is real? How about that? Who would have expected? Once we have enough information to verify without a shadow of a doubt this is in fact a real story, then we write that it's a real story. Weird. You know why that's so weird? Because Lance Wallnau and all these other guys expect people to jump to conclusions and believe unverified information that's been passed around and rumors. That is what they expect. Dead serious. It's like people talking about hydroxychloroquine doing something for people, you know, helping cure COVID or whatever. It didn't help cure COVID. There was no evidence that it cured COVID or did anything for anybody. But even if we had discovered that, in fact, it was helpful in curing COVID, it doesn't matter. At the time when they were saying this, there was no evidence. I don't care if they had proven without a shadow of a doubt eventually that hydroxychloroquine was actually helpful. You didn't have the evidence to think that it was. You were just screaming into the void and crying because you were being censored. Your posts were rightfully being deleted when you made claims about hydroxychloroquine curing COVID and stuff, because there's no reason to believe that stuff at the time. That is the same thing they're doing right now. Oh, well, we were saying it was real 2 years ago. Well, nobody thought it was real 2 years ago. There's no reason to believe it was real 2 years ago. In fact, there's barely reason to think it's real now. And you're claiming some kind of a victory now? Give me a break. These people live in a fantasy land.
They broke the sea. They're letting you know what's really going on. They're doing damage control on their own complicity in fake news. So, but I'll tell you what, man, McCarthy is got, he's like, remember, McCarthy's not our favorite kind of a guy to have the...
McCarthy is the minority House leader right now in the House of Representatives. I'm not sure. It's looking like he'll probably be the leader of the Speaker of the House in 2023. So we'll see what happens.
Gavel there.
He's not very popular with these types of people. They took an internal vote to see if he should be voted Speaker of the House. He got the majority of votes by far. The leader of the Freedom Caucus, which is like, his name's Andy Biggs. He's backed by like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of the other, anti-Semitic scumbags out there. He got 30 votes. Andy Biggs did, the leader of the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus, the Matt Gaetzes and Marjorie Taylor Greenes, said that they're not going to vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House. If they don't vote for him, Nancy Pelosi will be the Speaker of the House again, or a Democrat will anyways. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. They will almost certainly vote for McCarthy, I have to imagine, but boy, would that be an interesting twist. Anyways, yeah, let's keep listening, see what these people have to say.
But he's under so much pressure from Matt Gaetz and from the Marjorie Taylor Greens and from the Flashpoint Army, I might add.
Right. Come on.
Our people are putting pressure up there, and they've got to cover. They're going to go after Fauci on the gain of function. They can't talk about that either. Well, why don't you talk about the economy?
No, they're free to talk about the gain of function or whatever. They weren't doing gain of function research on this. Like, America was not doing gain of research function on the coronavirus. This is all propagandistic nonsense fabricated and pushed by Rand Paul to try to demonize Fauci. I don't know why he felt like it was a good idea to demonize Fauci, just because he wanted his moment in the sun, I guess, in the spotlight. I don't know. But that's Rand Paul for you. The reality of the situation is far, far more complicated, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of what was going on and, you know, what the facts of the matter and all that stuff, but I'm going to try to avoid talking about it because I don't fully understand it, and I don't want to get something wrong.
And they're going to go after Mayorkas about the 5.5 million illegals that have come into the United States. They're going to go after Biden, and they're going to go after Merrick Garland too. It's going to be a turkey shoot, if I dare say, on Thanksgiving.
Okay, fantastic. So this guy is saying the House Republicans are going to find as many propagandistic lanes as possible to attack Democrats. Great. That's what I like to see my tax dollars going toward. Partisan hackery.
For sure. All right, speaking of Fauci, I've got to get this in there because...
Oh, here we go.
Today, Lance, I don't know if you knew this or not, but he had his last official walking away from the White House meeting. And he says, if there are any oversight hearings, look at this tweet from the Washington Beacon, I absolutely will cooperate fully and testify before Congress.
Right. So Fauci is quitting. I forgot about that. He's walking away. He's been in the field for 30-something years. He was involved in the HIV pandemic, actually, from my knowledge. Back in the 80s when HIV first appeared, he was the guy dealing with it. And he got a lot of criticism for how he handled it. Rightfully so. It was pretty interesting the way, everything kind of played out or whatever. But anyways, Fauci's got his issues, but generally speaking, he's an okay dude.
We can defend and explain and stand by everything that we have said. I have nothing to hide. Did you see that was my little, Hank, that was my hide. That's the way he says hide.
It sounded just like him.
Yeah.
It sounded just like him. Yeah.
Except he's shorter. I ain't nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't... What? I just... Never mind. I'm not even going to bother.
I'm sorry. I know
great.
I'm not. Okay, so...
It's terrible. Tasteless, Gene.
Tasteless, yes.
You need to say with the mask on.
All right, so you got to watch this clip. This happened today. It's your favorite press secretary again, trying to handle.
Oops, I didn't mean to hit that button. I meant to hit that button.
Stuff. Look at what happened with Anthony Fauci. Watch.
Dr. Fauci, only 30.
Again, every single thing these people put out is propagandistic nonsense, unfairly edited, unfairly clipped out. That's just the way they do things. I don't trust anything they say or do, okay?
You're not being respectful. You ask your question, you should allow her to answer the question. Jeremy, Dr. Fauci, on the origin of COVID-19.
It is not your turn. It is not your turn.
You can't read a press briefing. You need to call from people across the room. She has a valid question. She's asked about the origin of COVID-19.
I hear the question.
And Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer.
I hear your question, but we're not doing this the way you want it. This is the disrespectful. It is. I'm done. Simon, I'm done. Simon, I'm done. I'm done with you right now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're taking time away from your colleagues. Go ahead.
Simon, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm off with your
What
head.
was he asking? Gene, what was he asking? What was he trying to ask?
He
I
was
couldn't hear it.
actually, that guy's voice you heard was actually repeating the question that another reporter had about the origins of COVID.
Oh, so they were trying to propagandize naturally, and they got yelled at for it, basically, or rejected at the very least. Not even yelled at, just their question was not being taken seriously because it was just propagandistic bullshit once again. Okay.
Wanting Fauci to address that. And, you know, we're not going to talk about that here. We're going to do it the way we want to talk about it. And you need to read the narrative we handed out at the door. This is what we...
You know, this is another really good example that I thought about, the origins of COVID, right? So years ago when COVID first came out, there was like this lab leak theory that everybody thought maybe it leaked from a lab. And then Trump supporters ran away with it, started screaming that it was true. As a matter of fact, it leaked from a lab. We know it for sure. When we didn't. So social media tried to curb conspiracy theories, as in my opinion they should do. Try to curb conspiracy theories. You're allowed to talk about some things. It's just not going to get the viral reach that, you know, Facebook or Twitter can push it to. And then it was being seriously investigated by the White House or by, you know, the FBI or whoever else. Just because you screamed about it before it was investigated does not mean that you were correct about your assertion. Even if it turned out that it really was leaked from a lab, you were not in the right to scream about it originally. Social media was right to have slowed down the viral reach of the conspiracy theories. They were conspiracy theories. Whether they turned out to be true or not at the like later on, they were conspiracy theories when you spread them. Because you didn't have the evidence to believe any of this stuff.
We need you to come.
This is like basic logic. How do people not understand this? Seriously. Like, I feel like some people are just dumb as dog shit, honestly. They are so goddamn fucking stupid. They can't figure out how basic, like, philosophy 101 logic works. They have no clue how to come to correct conclusions about things. It blows me away that people are so fucking stupid sometimes.
Hey, the wheels are off the bus, Lance. We're seeing the wheels come off.
Oh, he's coming. I'm going to tell you, Ron Paul's coming after him.
He is.
And you're...
Ron Paul famously propagandized about Dr. Fauci for no reason for months and months and months. Just because he didn't like the guy, I assume. I don't know. Again, Rand Paul didn't make any correct assertions about any of this stuff. He just lied and twisted things around and propagandized over and over and over again, and used the floor of the Senate as a location to do so. It was just disgusting, dude, honestly.
He's coming after him. I'm telling you a little story here. I hear from the people that are behind the scenes. He's going to be out there. It's going to be a real cornucopia of corruption we're going to be dealing with. Imagine this. I don't even think you have to be too prophetic to say this, but I think it could be prophetic. 2 years of increasing economic stress.
Dude, you don't have to be prophetic to say literally anything that they say. Like the claim that Trump is going to win the 2020 election. That doesn't require prophecy. That requires just looking at polls and doing some basic deduction, you know? And then they were still wrong about it, which is the funniest part. Okay, let's just step back a few seconds.
To say this, but I think it could be prophetic. 2 years of increasing economic stress and strain. The average working American has to work 60 hours a week now in order to pay their rent and eat and survive. That's the working class. And you're going to see all of these exposés on Biden's corruption. To what degree has China got control over Biden because of his son's dealings? This is going to become a major issue. I don't see how.
Dude, what is he talking about? What dealings did Hunter and or Joe Biden have in China that are corrupt that would lead them to, like, be twisted around or whatever other thing? It's like they didn't give a shit about what corrupt dealings Trump might have had in Saudi Arabia or in Russia. building gigantic buildings, trying to get permits and stuff like that from these locations. But suddenly they care deeply about what Joe Biden's son is doing in this place or that place. He's not. God, it just drives me nuts, dude. These people drive me absolutely up a wall.
Biden can survive the next 2 years. I don't see how Harris is going to be a great substitute. But you're going to watch all of these scandals being reluctantly covered by the news while America increases its distress. And that's why Donald Trump shows up at just the right time, because he's going to hammer this stuff relentlessly. And even the people that don't like him, Gene, even some of our people in our Christian movement that are ready to jump ship are going to be reluctantly brought back into alignment on this assignment.
That's right. I think they are. And, Pastor Hank, there's people out there wanting to sign petitions about Christians that aren't supporting President Trump. I'm not going to give the name.
No Christian should be supporting Donald Trump. None. He is completely antithetical to Christian positions, beliefs, or feelings, or whatever else. And I'm completely blown away that anybody actually supports him who claims to be a Christian. If you claim to be a Christian, you should be vetted as to whether or not you agree with anything that Donald Trump has said or done, because he is like a perfect gauge for what you shouldn't do as a Christian.
All right, so let me show you this. In other news, nothing's as good as that was the most flashpointy thing we had tonight. But in other news, what's going on? Let's go to missiles. Now, you may have heard this. Look at this. Warsaw, Poland, a senior U.S. intelligence official says.
Okay, I don't know that a senior U.S. intelligence official said this. Poland told us. I don't know who Philip Crowther is, or why he has a picture of Elmo in his profile picture or whatever, but I heard that Poland told us that a Russian missile crossed into NATO member Poland and killed 2 people. And it sounds like we've discovered that it was actually a repurposed missile that was being used by Ukraine. So Russia was not to blame for it, from my understanding. And that was the end of the NATO Article 4 talk.
Russian missiles crossed into NATO member Poland, killing 2 people. Really? That was on the 15th.
That's correct, yes.
Well, look at what the Associated Press had to say when they updated the story.
Okay, first of all, that wasn't the Associated Press that posted that headline there. That was some asshole who I have no idea who he is, claiming that the Associated Press posted that story. Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't know who this dude is or why I should trust him. But either way, it was correct that a missile that was Russian in origin hit Polish land and killed 2 citizens. I don't know that a senior U.S. intelligence official said that. Let's keep listening.
A little bit later that day, three U.S. officials told the AP that preliminary assessments indicate the missile that struck Poland had been fired from Ukrainian forces at an incoming Russian missile.
That's correct so far. That is actually what happened.
So so obviously some people got it wrong. So there was almost.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't get it wrong. A Russian missile hit Poland and killed 2 people. Ukraine shot that Russian missile. It was Russian in origin. It was an old Soviet missile, from my understanding.
A war started over misinformation. And, this is crazy stuff. Now, what?
That wasn't misinformation.
I heard today from some of the mainstream media was, well, it's really, I'm telling you, this is Ukraine's fault because they're pushing the vernacular. This is Russia's fault because they're doing this.
Nobody said a word. Everybody was waiting for their investigations to complete. Russia denied it. As far as I know, Ukraine didn't say a word. Everybody is just waiting for the results. And we discovered that it was fired by Ukraine. It was a Russian missile that Ukraine repurposed and was using. And they fired it to shoot down a Russian missile. And it went astray and went into Polish territory.
Ukraine wouldn't have been firing if Russia hadn't fired. Get the story straight.
The stories were straight the entire time. We just added new information. What's he talking about?
All right, let me read you this next one. The newest estimate contradicts information earlier today, Tuesday, from a senior U.S. intelligence official who told the AP Russian missiles crossed into Poland.
Wait, what's this? The new assessment contradicts information earlier Tuesday from a senior U.S. intelligence official who told the AP Russian missiles crossed into Poland. First of all, I don't even know if this is real. I've seen them twist things around and turn it into something that it's not. I can't tell if this is actually from the AP or not, if this is actually real or not, or what this is even in reference to. I just can't tell. I don't know. But the fact of the story is Ukraine was using a Russian missile to fire down a missile that was actually fired by Russia. The Russian missile that was fired by Ukraine crossed into Polish territory. Thus, it was not a violation of NATO airspace because Ukraine is not, fighting against NATO or whatever. If it came from Russia, we'd be in a very different discussion right now. It didn't come from Russia, so.
Assessment contradicts information earlier from a senior U.S. intelligence official. I don't know who to be more disappointed in. The senior U.S.
You should be disappointed in yourself because you're twisting this around to be something that it's not, very obviously. There was no miscommunication, no misunderstanding, no nothing. The fact of the matter is a Russian missile landed in Poland. We just needed an investigation to discover that it was from Ukraine, not from Russia. It came from Ukrainian territory, and Ukraine fired it originally. How do they not get this? What's the goal that they're trying to reach at right now is what we should really be asking ourselves. What are they shooting for by talking about this? They understand this story. You can't convince me they don't. They know exactly what happened. So who are they trying to demonize by talking about this? They are demonizing the Associated Press, certainly. Is that who they're trying to, slander? And is that whose credibility they're trying to ruin? Is there a story about, the far right that'll be coming out by the AP sometime in the near future? Is that why they're doing this? I don't know. Why are they twisting this around to be something it's not?
Intelligence official, if there really was one, or the AP for going to press with something that wasn't vetted yet. Lance, your thoughts before I move on?
Well, two things. First of all, this Zelensky is the one who fed the narrative that he wanted World War III. This is a guy we got to get rid of. By the way, McCarthy is supporting this stupid war. We got $80 billion in there.
Yep.
Biden.
Now, the reason they're opposed to Ukraine is pretty obvious. It's because they're in favor of Russia. Always have been, these people. It seems to me that they are probably, connected to Russia through some cutouts. This specific flashpoint in these televangelists and stuff. QAnon is most definitely connected to Russia, and they have cutouts and stuff like that to QAnon. Russia passes conspiracy theories through QAnon all the time. A lot of their conspiracy theories came straight out of Russia, and I have evidence for that, but I just don't feel like going over it right now. I'll give you one basic, quick, simple example. This is a QAnoner named Delora O'Brien, famous QAnoner. Immediately after the Ukraine war started, within a few days, within a week, I would say, within a week of the Ukraine war starting, Delora O'Brien, famed QAnoner, comes out there and spreads a pro-Russia conspiracy theory. If you remember, everybody was in favor of Ukraine at this time. Every single person in America was in favor of Ukraine. So it was really, really weird to hear people like Delora O'Brien spreading pro-Russia conspiracy theories.
I'm not on Putin's side. I'm not on Zelensky's side. I'm not on Trump's side. I'm on God's side. God's side is the side of truth. It just so happens that right now, our President Trump is on the side of God. Also, believe it or not, so is Putin.
No, he's not.
Right before I came on here, this is what was sent to me. A Russian soldier, I even have his name and I can't give it. I'm sorry, I can't. Just research it. I'm sure it'll start coming out. Searching for bioweapons. There was him and a few of the other soldiers searching for bioweapons in central Ukraine.
Completely made up. They were not searching for bioweapons in central Ukraine. Russia wasn't. This was a Russia conspiracy theory that came straight out of the Kremlin. The Kremlin claimed this. And now it's coming out of QAnon? Why? How did it come to QAnon in the first place?
Stumbled upon a child trafficking den.
No, literally no to all of this. She says she can give us the name of the Russian person. She's not going to. It'll come out in the news sometime soon. Would you be surprised to find that it was completely made up the entire time? A week after the Ukraine war started, and we have Russian conspiracy theories coming straight out of the Kremlin, coming from the mouths of QAnoners. How did that happen? Russia is controlling QAnon in large part. Russia feeds conspiracy theories into QAnon. Okay, that's my point here. Russia feeds conspiracy theories to these people too. They have to Flashpoint. They've been feeding conspiracies to Flashpoint, to QAnon, to the far right generally for a long time now. Since 2016 at the very latest.
Wants to move it up to $100 billion. We got to get the heck out of this thing. Zelensky was the one who said, oh, Russia just dropped missiles into Poland, and he refused to
I don't think Zelensky said that. I don't remember Zelensky saying that at all. If I remember correctly, it was complete silence.
Track and take the statement back, even after the evidence is there that it's a Ukrainian missile. Hey, I don't even want to...
No, it was a Russian missile. It was a Russian missile fired from Ukraine, fired by Ukraine. There's a small distinction there, but it's an important distinction to be made.
Suggest that somebody shot it into Poland in order to make it look like Russia. These guys want to get us into World War III 5,000 miles from here for something we shouldn't even be involved with. That's the U.S.
See, this is, once again, more pro-Russia propaganda that they're spreading. Why are they spreading pro-Russia propaganda? This is such a weird thing for these people to talk about, right? Or to be in favor of or whatever. It is so odd to hear them be in such a pro-Russia position.
State Department, well, of course, U.S. intelligence, that's oxymoron right now. They're not intelligent. You can't trust them.
They are intelligent, and they have more information about the world than probably any other intelligence agency or intelligence community out there. It's like, I can't believe that they're almost military, the intelligence community is. I would say they work closely with the military, right? I thought they respected the military. It blows me away that he's espousing these positions.
All right. So let's take a different look at the missile. Now this goes to Pastor Hanks. Look at this. This is a prophecy that came on October 23rd, before all this happened. Look to the sky. I'm just going to read the red parts. For there will be close calls, so they would say, of jets that will come into the very outer edges of your airspace, and there will be missile tests that will fill the air. And there will even be one missile with fire that shall cause men to fear and say, where shall this land? And what shall be the damage thereof?
Okay, first of all, I don't know that this is even true, that he even said any of this. I need video evidence for this. Second, That doesn't mean absolutely anything. Here's the interesting thing about Hank Kunneman's prophecies, about any of these televangelist prophecies. They're vague enough that they can apply to almost anything. Almost anything. I mean, think about how this would apply to like a North Korean missile. And North Korea is constantly launching missiles at all kinds of people as like a show of strength or something. I mean, they've been launching stuff at people for like, 10, 15 years now. That's just what they do. But he's taking a very, very general prophecy, quote unquote, supposed prophecy, and applying it to specific situations. This is how they sucker gullible fools into thinking that they are actually in communication with God.
45 is flying his plane again. What does this mean? We must stop him. We must raise up further attempts that he may never be seated again, so they shall say. Pastor Hank,
Dude, what I don't understand. What's he even talking about?
This was at least almost 2 weeks before what we saw with the missile. This is back to what you said earlier. God is saying, he is talking to his prophets. We have to listen. We got to listen to the right prophets, but we got to listen to the ones that are saying things. But this is really interesting when you look back at the full picture and go, here's a missile, just like the prophecy said.
This is what I'm talking about. He gives something really, really general, and then he finds a situation in the news that it could apply to. Julie Green does this exact same thing. They all do this exact same thing. It's a standard cold reading trick from psychics originally, I think. And televangelists kind of co-opted it and used it for their own purposes. You know what? I'm not sure who did it first. Televangelists or psychics, but they both do the exact same thing. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think you got to go back. It was October, 23rd, that God spoke that look to the sky. And he was talking about different signs. And every one of the signs that he said before he got to the missile happened a few days after. But then he says on October 23rd, notice he said one missile. He didn't say a missile. What did you just show, Pastor Gene? You showed one missile. And they can't figure out what in the world's going on with it, where it landed, why it landed, who sent it, and the rhetoric goes on, the lying continues. But God said there will be a sign, one missile, almost 30 days before Trump announces that he is going to...
Almost 30 days before. Okay, well, that's not impressive at all. It wasn't on the day. It wasn't even on the 30-day mark. What does that have to do with anything? It's like he's taking near hits and claiming them as hits. No. This is also called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Focusing in on the hits and ignoring the misses.
Run his candidacy 2024. And notice that missile was launched and landed in Poland on the very same day that Trump announces his candidacy on November 15th. Now, why is that important? Because the prophecy said it. If you look at the prophecy, it said one missile, and then the very next thing that God talks about is Trump, and that he would be flying his plane, and that they would try to stop him from running again. And God said, watch this. He would strike it down, just like the missile would be struck down.
And how are these things connected to each other at all? Like, this is complete nonsense, all of it. None of this stuff is connected. He's just desperately trying to make it look like it is.
And I want to say this last thing regarding Poland. Remember at the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about the 2019 prophecy that the decade would start off harsh, but then it would come into rest. In the Hebrew, we did some research. Poland literally means the place of rest or rest. And I believe this is all a sign. That missile being struck down is a sign that all the attempts that they've tried to do to hurt innocent people, ruin America.
Who? Poland? Is he saying Poland has tried to ruin America and stuff? See, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I don't know that that's exactly what he's trying to communicate, but it seems like it. This is what I'm talking about. Who would say such a thing about Poland if not Russia? Why is Hank Kunneman saying something that sounds like he's demonizing Poland like this. Like, why does he care about Poland? Why is he trying to make it seem as though Poland is like this great evil? Who would do it? Russia is like literally the only country out there who has a serious problem with Poland right now. Who has a vested interest in like making Poland look weak or hateful or something. Why is he saying this and doing this? These people, I believe, are connected to Russia the same way that QAnon is.
Steal our liberties is going to be struck down. That's what Hunter's laptop represents. God's righteousness and justice. It's not going away. And
wow, dude, they've even worked Hunter Biden's laptop into their supposed prophecies now.
And then their attempts to try to stop what God anointed, just like with Netanyahu, President Trump. I believe they're not going to be able to stop it. And rather than petition it, complain, look to another candidate, we need to get behind what God is saying. And I believe if we do, we will cooperate with the plan of heaven. Because God always raises up leaders, like he did with Cyrus, for the benefit of the people. And
they believe Trump has the Cyrus anointing, which basically means he's the new Messiah. That's why he mentioned Cyrus just now.
I believe that's what President Trump is about. He's being raised up for the benefit of global freedom and also for things that are on God's agenda concerning Israel and the earth.
Yeah, amen. And let me say right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is not to lift up a man named Hank Kunneman. We have to look at the prophetic and base the prophetic on the prophetic word. Did it happen? Yes or no? This isn't to go build, something, some shrine to Pastor Hank Kunneman. Listen, the scripture tells us he speaks to his prophets first. That's what we've got to be paying attention to. So be careful.
Yeah, except Hank's prophecies aren't really prophecies. They are paper thin at best. It's just complete nonsense.
Be careful who you're listening to. This is one thing that Kenneth Copeland has talked about on this channel and in this ministry for over 55 years. You got to be careful what you're listening to and what you're inputting. So keep that in mind. All right, I want to get to this in the last couple minutes. This is from the RNC Research. Lance, I'm going to show you this. This is just funny. Do you continue to maintain, this is to Mayorkas, the border is secure? You want to see the video? Watch.
You continue to maintain that the border is secure.
It is as secure as it was under Donald Trump. The border is. It is no more or less secure now than it was before, which isn't to say that it's perfect, but when these people talk about fentanyl being caught at the border constantly, they think that's like a shot against the border being secure. No, that's in favor. That's a shot against the border being porous. If they're catching things at the border, it means that it is secure because it's being caught. You think drugs weren't moving through the border under Trump, then you live in a delusional fantasy land. If drugs weren't being caught at the border, then it's a testament to how porous the border was under Donald Trump. But let's keep listening.
Yes, and we are working day in and day out to enhance its security, Congressman.
Oh, I thought they were going to give an argument against it being, like, secure. They didn't. They just showed a guy saying that it is secure. Okay.
There you go, Lance. It's secure. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the problem. Look at this from Governor Abbott here in the great state of Texas.
Yeah, because he's a super unbiased source, Abbott is. Absolutely.
He beat around the bush, and he had this to say. This is a lie. Mayorkas should be impeached. That's one of the few times I actually agree with Governor Greg Abbott on that.
What? He doesn't agree with Abbott? I thought like he was a big fan of Abbott.
I want to show you, Lance, before you talk, let me show you some thermal drone footage from Eagle Pass, Texas. Shows large group of migrants crossing. Look, go ahead and play it. Yeah, there you are.
Again, I wouldn't put it past these people to completely fabricate things or take things totally out of context or whatever. Don't trust a single thing you see on this show. Nothing.
I mean, we're talking about thousands coming across the border.
And look, at the very beginning of this is, you can see on the heat map is a tank, right? Did you guys see the tank right there? it looks like they're being led by the military. Were they already like detained and are being like moved to a different facility? Like, I don't know the context behind this, but they're claiming that they're just walking right over the border all willy-nilly just because they want to or whatever. Honestly, in my opinion, we should throw the doors wide open. After living in New York City for a couple of years now and seeing the effects that mass immigration has on a culture and a society, throw the doors wide open. Let anybody in who wants to come in. Seriously, I'm not joking. Let anybody in who wants in. We have shown immeasurable benefits in New York City from mass immigration. It has done nothing but benefit everybody involved.
Here you are. I mean, we're talking about thousands coming across the border. This is not, I mean, they're not running from anybody. This is like a pilgrimage.
Yeah, they're following a tank. Again, I don't know the context behind what they're doing here or whatever, but, they're not just kind of moseying their way up past, like, border security or whatever. That's not how this is working. This is obviously a depiction that is missing context. Like, they haven't given us the entire context to what's happening in this video here.
This is coming to America. When we look at this, we're not talking about, the ones I'm concerned about are not people coming here because they want a better life in America. That's who we are as American. I understand that. Not talking about those.
That is literally every immigrant. Do you think that people are coming here because they want to hurt America or something?
I'm concerned about the gotaways, the ones that we didn't catch because they are not wanting to be fingerprinted and photographed. There's the big concern, Lance. Our border is not secure, and it shows you the preposterous nature of what Mayorkas says when our border is secure. How can he possibly say that, Lance?
Yeah, this whole border security, immigrant stuff is all just another culture war battle that they're waging. It's complete nonsense.
Well, because if you could say a male is a female and a female is a male, you can pretty much say anything, Gene. So, but I would say
nobody says a male is a female and a female is a male. Complete misrepresentation of anything that anybody ever says on the left.
That I am against people coming through the border seeking a better way of life. I'm against someone breaking into my house because they're looking for a better dinner tonight than the one they have at home. The whole purpose of immigration is to keep 6 billion, I think we just had 8 billion people. The 8 billionth person was born today. I'm concerned that 6 billion people want to come into America. We can only handle so much.
Trust me, most people don't want to come to America. You know who's actually coming over the border into America? Refugees. People from war-torn areas. Immigrants are not desperate to get here, not as desperate as they want you to believe that they are. People in Mexico are actually reasonably happy in Mexico for the most part. The only time you get people trying to cross the border is when they're in war-torn areas that are victim to like cartels and stuff in South America, Venezuela, and places like that. Believe me, these people don't have the misapprehension about America that they'd be welcomed here or that this is a wonderful place to live. People in war-torn areas recognize that it's better than where they are now. The American dream isn't even real. It was propaganda from the beginning. If somebody was chasing the American dream, they would be better off going to Scandinavian countries or even Canada. The American dream, which is like your upward mobility, your ability to like move up and make more money and progress and stuff like that, is nearly unobtainable here, especially as compared to other countries. But, keep on propagandizing, I suppose.
$30 trillion worth of debt. We have another $20 to $30 trillion worth of Social Security and Medicare unfunded liabilities. We are $60 trillion on a hair trigger with a potential Great Depression in America. And the left...
No, we are not on a hair trigger of a potential Great Depression in America. I can see a possible recession. A depression is something that goes long term for like 10 years or more or something like that. I forget how long a depression has to go, or I forget how long a recession has to go before it's considered a depression. But anyways, okay, keep propagandizing there, Lance.
Is flooding us with probably 10 to 20 million people dependent on the Americans that don't have any life raft left to invite people onto. That's the problem with having Mayorkas there lying. He's got executive order after executive order contradicting the very thing he's doing when he's having to give account. Yeah, he needs to be impeached. He needs to be kicked out. But you see what I say about America? You would think, Gene, that with the midterm elections, that this would be, for America anyway, a clear enough problem. I'm concerned that there is a deep fog over the brain of America that can only be pierced by a vigorous, aggressive work of God. That's my thinking.
I think you're absolutely right.
I.e., turn this into a Christian nationalist state already. That's what he's trying to say. Again, I just want to make it clear that immigrants are not desperate to get into America. Refugees from war-torn areas, sure. If immigrants have the money, they're going to try to go to a better place rather than America. Trust me. No one is trying to get in here. This place is a train wreck, and everybody knows it.
And I agree with your statements.
The only reason refugees are coming here is because it's the closest place. It's the closest country that accepts refugees, which, according to, like, Geneva Conventions or something, I don't remember what exactly, refugees are required to come to the nearest country, or they're allowed to come to the nearest country. And a country within, like, this convention is required to accept refugees. So these people, these refugees, suffering war-torn areas, suffering from cartels and, violence of all sorts, come over the border in Texas. Ron DeSantis ships them to Florida and then ships them to Martha's Vineyard as like a gotcha to own the libs. Nobody wants to come here. Trust me on that. If you think immigrants want to move to America for the better life it offers, you have been lied to.
I think people can come here the right way, and that has to be controlled. And so I think
That's the problem. There is no right way. There's no good paths to citizenship in America. There is no way to get in here safely, effectively, correctly, legally. No good way to do it.
We're absolutely saying the same thing. All right, we got 20 seconds. Got 10 seconds. Pastor Hank, say something prophetic.
Hey, thanks be to God who always leads us into triumph through Christ. We are being led into triumph. I agree with Lance. It's going to take God's divine intervention. Let's continue to pray and call for it.
Amen. All right, remember, week special program Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. We're here. You don't want to be anywhere. Watch us. Eat your turkey. Watch us. We'll see you next time.
God, these people live in just a delusional reality, no joke. It is absolutely nuts to hear some of the things these people say. Absolutely nuts. Let me know what you think about this in the comments if you want to see more stuff like this.